my family is, my dad's Sicilian and my mom is Irish, and so my Irish might be Northern European, but it's still that people know how to raise their voices and things like that. And so I've learned how to express myself in different ways, to not interrupt people, to not talk louder to get my way, to not, and it's not, what was always challenging for me was that in my family, raising your voice was not a threatening thing. I mean, it was definitely trying to exert power over other people. Like, you'd win an argument by talking over someone else, but it was never a precursor to violence. Whereas for many people, raising one's voice is the precursor to violence, and so they feel very threatened anytime someone raises their voice or raises their energy in that way. And so that was really hard for me to learn, and hard for me to shift my behavior, but I chose to, because I didn't want for people to feel threatened by me. It's not something that I'm perfect at by any means, but it's something that I've adapted to, at least to the point where, like, my family doesn't recognize the way that I interact. You know, they recognize it as different than it used to be. And I do see how, I mean, class is definitely a factor there too. I do think that people who are of middle class or upper class are more likely to use other means of persuasion and other means of exerting their power than just physical presence or raising one's voice, things like that. I also think, you know, gender is a really big factor here, because, like, women and men often just display their emotions differently and react to, that kind of dynamic differently. I mean, the problems that we've had in the past, I mean, we've had problems where people who had a lot of anger, expressed it by raising their voices, other people felt threatened by them. And at some level, there was nothing inherently, like, wrong with their behavior or right about not doing that, but there's some level where, people need, I mean, there's a place for tolerance and diversity, and there's a place where if people just aren't getting along, or you can't do it, or where one person's behavior sort of forces other people into engaging with them in a certain way. And so, like, I found that when people would, like, I could rise to meet the energy levels that some people would engage with at that. If they raised their voices, I could go there too, and I was at some level comfortable with that, but if that's the only mode that they can interact in, then it doesn't give other people the option to interact with them in their preferred way. And it doesn't make one way right or wrong, but it's like, if I can interact either at a high level or a low level, then that's going to allow me to interact with a more diverse group of people than someone who can only act at a high level or only act at a low level. And it's like, there's no, like, right or wrong, but it's a tricky diversity issue to deal with. I mean, I think, so, like, in some of those gossip moments, or in some of those things where it's like you're frustrated with someone else and you're like, oh, I can't believe that so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's some level where I think I hope that people have internalized, or at least someone else might say, like, what do you think's going on for them? Like, why do you think they're doing that? Or what do you think's the reason for them being that way? And actually looks towards finding commonality, finding connection, finding resolution, rather than just responding to that venting or that negativity with, like, yeah, I hate it when they do that, or you're totally right, they're out of their minds, or whatever. Like, that's feeding the gossip machine, or that negative energy. And sometimes that's what the person needs. They need a little support in that moment. But, like, overall, I think we've trying to create a culture where when someone's feeling that negativity about someone else, that there is actually energy for helping them get in touch with their own feelings about why that's happening, or connect with the other person, either directly or indirectly, or just in general, like working towards resolution, and not just working towards, demonizing other people. That said, that's not easy, and it's, and some people have a tendency towards connecting, and some people have a tendency towards, separating and, blaming, or, finding, wanting to find the bad guy in each situation. we're in the midst of setting up a conflict resolution team for our community, and we do have a notion, I mean, it's in our membership agreement that everyone commits to being open to mediation when there's conflict and to resolving conflicts peaceably. And exactly what that means, there's interpretation to it, but like there's definitely a commitment here towards resolving conflicts. Are there still problems where people don't like each other? We're not sure. We're not trying to expect that everyone's best friends, but if it's affecting the decision making of the community, if it's affecting the functioning of the community, like we will actually step in and say like, hey, you really need to work on this. Can we get you a mediator? Will you sit down and talk to them? Can we try and resolve it? Where resolution means at least getting to the place where things can be workable. Is there gossip? There's some. It's not a big problem for us, and it might get worse as we get bigger, because as you say, like right now, I do have some level of personal connection with everyone. I mean, there's only 45 of us, but when we're 500, like in some ways the goal of being 500 is to not have a personal connection with every person, because there is value in the acquaintance. There's value in the pool of people that you are still waiting to get to know, that you have the potential for new friends in that pool. Whereas with 45, I can look around and I already know what my social connection is to all these people. I look forward to the day when there's enough people that I don't know every single person's business. That said, you're going to know people's business, and some people react to that really strongly. Some people are, the town busybody and, have their nose in everyone's business. I think we're going to have the same small town dynamics that any small town has, and hopefully we'll deal with them a little bit better, but they're not going to, humans are humans, and there's a lot of those social dynamics. Some of them are about power, some of them are just about people's personalities. I don't expect to prevent them all. I just hope to not have them be, there's the kind of problem that sort of eats away at the heart of a community, and I think we need to avoid those. I don't think we can expect utopia or perfection, and so if gossip were to get bad enough where it was really being detrimental, I think we'd engage on it and talk about it as a group, or talk with the individuals that it was affecting and see if we could resolve it.